WBCTV and to share a few words with us today. We must raise our voice for those innocent girls who are the softest target of this government. Hijab is not our faith. Hijab is not only our right. Hijab is not only our choice. Hijab is mandatory and we have to follow it with our faith and dignity. It's not apartheid, but a modesty, and the modesty covers both men and women. However, at this point, I would admit that at some point in yesteryears, patriarchy has intervened in it that made a huge changes in modesty of Islam. No doubt that it needs research when and how the modesty replaced burqa. Anyways, we are not meeting here just to oppose hijab law. We know that it's not about modesty, hijab or burqa. It's a politics of India nowadays. This is the sad part of our life being Indian Muslims. हम सब जानते हैं कि भाजपा की हालत बहुत अच्छी नहीं है। जिस अपोजिशन को खत्म करने के लिए इस हुकूमत ने साम दाम दंड भेद सारे हथकंडे अपनाए, मुल्क के सारे बड़े मीडिया को खरीदा, बिजनेसमैन घरानों को पैसा लेकर उसे सूद के साथ वापस करने के लिए उनसे वादे किए। इसके बावजूद भी आज समाजवादी पार्टी और एक हद तक कांग्रेस ने जमीन पर काम करके फिर से एक मजबूत अपोजिशन का रोल अदा किया है और कर रही है, जिसने भाजपा के पैरों तले जमीन हिला दी है। यूपी में इंतखाब होने की वजह से ये काम यहाँ नहीं हो सकता था। वो जानते हैं कि इंतखाब की वजह से मुसलमानों पर को प्रोवोक करना यूपी में मुश्किल होगा, लिहाजा ये काम उन्होंने कर्नाटका से शुरू किया। बाकी कहानी आप सब जानते हैं कि क्या हो रहा है और ये आग कहां तक जा सकती है। दोनों सूरतों में चाहे भाजपा जीते, जिसके चांसेस हैं, ये जोड़ तोड़ में माहिर हुकूमत है, या हारे। आज भारतीय मुसलमानों के लिए गुज़िश्ता 70 साल में वो हालात हुए हैं जो शायद आने वाले वक्त में हमें देखना पड़े। बच्चियों को स्कूल और कॉलेजों से बाहर करके सारे भारत के मुसलमानों को ये चेतावनी दे दी गई है। बहुत ही प्री प्लान हुआ है। मेरी दुआ है कि मुसलमान इस पर बहुत समझदारी और सूझबूझ के साथ रद्द अमल करें। नहीं, मैं डरा नहीं रही हूँ, बल्कि आप सब ये जानते हैं। मैं ये सिर्फ याद दिला रही हूँ। सोचो, इस्लाम इस सूरत हाल में किस मसलहत की इजाज़त देता है। सोचो वो कौन सा अमल है जो हमसे छूट रहा है, जिसकी पादाश में हम पर यह हुकूमत वबा की तरह मुसल्लत कर दी गई है। सोचो कि इस्लाम में दूर अंदेशी जो कि सुन्नत रसूलुल्लाह है, हम उसे किस हद तक इस्तेमाल कर रहे हैं, कर भी रहे हैं या नहीं। ये भी देखना होगा कि जज्बात में न बह जाए और उन्हें एक मौका फिर मिल जाए। हम उन्हें पहले ही बहुत मौके दे चुके हैं। A few points that I would like to share with you all as a reminder, being a Muslim, which we need to understand and practice from today. This is the high time that we let the world know that India is not only a democratic country, but also India is a diverse country where so many religions, language, food and culture exist since centuries. So remember that India is just not a namaste. India is also Assalamu Alaikum. India is also Sat Sri Akal, and India is also Shalom or good evening, good morning, and many ways. So India is a diverse country, and everybody has right to live with their faith. बस मैं इतना ही कहना चाहती हूँ और ज्यादा नहीं कहूँगी। बहुत सारे लोग हैं, अगर मौका मिला तो दोबारा आती हूँ आपके सामने। थैंक यू सो मच फॉर ऑर्गेनाइजिंग दिस एंड गिविंग मी टाइम। थैंक्स।
Human rights. Hijab rights are human rights.
One more time.
Hijab rights are human rights.
Now, do we have Bishop Philip Texera here?
No, he's not here.
Okay. Okay, let's go on to next person, Zafira Qazi.
Here we go.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This? Okay. May the peace, mercy, and blessings of God be upon you, is what that meant for those who are non-Muslim. And I just wanted to say, with all this talk about the hijab ban, I bet you're wondering what exactly is the hijab. And to put it simply, the literal translation for the word hijab means to veil or cover oneself. In Islam, we do that by dressing modestly, both women and men. Most Muslims wear loose and modest clothing, but the women have an article of additional clothing, which is a cloth wrapped around their head. This piece of cloth is the privatization of her body. By putting it on, she is saying, my body is not for anyone to look at or to judge except for those closest to me. She is saying, I am not controlled by society's unreal beauty standards. She is saying, look at what is inside my head and my heart rather than the shape of my body. Over time, the hijab has become a symbol of Islam. And when you see some people like those in India trying to stop people from wearing it, you have to wonder, is this really about a simple piece of cloth? The answer is simply no, it is not about the cloth, but what it represents, which is a religion that is disliked by some for no valid reason. In India, there are some Hindu extremists who would like a pure Hindu country. So they are trying to drive out any other religious minorities. When it comes to Islam, they are attempting to do that by taking away its symbol, the hijab. They are preventing young women from getting an education if they wear the hijab. Now tell me, since when did wearing a hijab have anything to do with education? Never. Nor does any other religious symbol. This may seem like a small thing to some who may ask, why don't they just take it off? Then they can go to school, no problem. Well, like I said before, it is not just a simple cloth. It is a sort of empowerment and a modest covering. It is a part of our religion and a way for us to express our religious freedom, which is a right of us all. And coming from myself, as a woman who wears the hijab, I would feel naked without my hijab. It is a part of my identity which shows my love for Allah or God. It shows that no one can tell me how to dress or how to think. It shows how by wearing a piece of cloth, I can make others wonder and think, how is there so much power in a simple piece of cloth? So much power that it even scares some people. And this hijab ban is only the beginning of the oppression of Indian Muslims. It is acts like these that can lead to deadlier things like genocide. And I'm sure our leaders here of our various organizations can tell you more about that, but that is all from me. Thank you for being here and thank you for listening.
So I don't know if you've been noticing today, we have so many wonderful young women behind me and around you that are representing what we're fighting for today. So when you see images of a woman in hijab in media, you're always seeing them as uneducated, they don't have a voice, they're shy. I think we're here today to prove that wrong. Am I right? So let's start again. Hijab rights are human rights. Hold them high because the cars are going by. Hijab rights are human rights. Continue.
Hijab rights
Are human rights. Hijab rights are human rights. One more time, please.
Hijab rights are human rights.
Our next speaker, do we have Manisha Sharma?
Yes.
Hello everyone, my name is Manisha and I'm so happy to see everyone here, gathered here to uplift the voices of the young girls in Karnataka who are fighting this fight for their rights to wear hijab or not wear hijab, their choice. So I'm going to say a few slogans if you can just join me. This is what I'm going to say. When RSS comes for my hijab, what do we do? And you say, stand up, fight back. When BJP comes for the hijab, what do we do? Stand up, fight back. When Hindutva forces come for the hijab, what do we do? Stand up, fight back. So let's say a few slogans. When RSS comes for the hijab, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
When BJP comes for the hijab, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
When the Hindutva forces come for the hijab, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
Thank you. So I just wanted to, talk a little bit about how this the whole controversy, this situation in India started. For many years, people have been wearing their religious symbols and living their daily lives. So in a small place in Karnataka and Udupi, the educational institutions started to prevent girls wearing hijab from entering and attending classes, saying that the hijab is not part of the uniform and asking them to take it off. It's really good to see that young girls who are getting the real education, instead of inside the school, outside the school, stand up and say that this is not constitutional. The expression and wearing your religious expression is completely accepted, and arbitrarily making rules and saying you should take off a certain article is not accepted. As you know, in India there are so many religions, there are so many ways to express your religious identity. There are small and larger symbols that people wear, and it's completely a part of your daily life. You're being educated, going to work, even serving in government offices, the army, that you wear your religious symbols. So it was great to see these young girls and young women come out and say, stand up against these forces. As you may have seen these visuals that we've seen from India, a young girl heading towards a college being shouted down by a whole mob of men wearing saffron shawls and shouting her down, and she just stood up, raised her arm and said, back off. I know what I'm doing. It's my right to be educated. It's my right to wear what I want. They're fighting back against the humiliation they're facing with teachers who should be doing the opposite. Actually, teachers standing at these college gates and asking them to take an article off from their head so that they can go inside and be educated. And then they're also fighting against this confused, the process in the courts that's happening, where the judges, instead of following the due process, have said, no, actually, until we decide how this should be settled, you actually should not be wearing the hijab to school, which is completely the wrong, not the sort of the judicial accepted process anywhere in the world. So, these girls are fighting back all of that. But what is also happening is with these confusing orders, so educational institutes are not sure what they should do, whether they should let, in the interim let girls in with the hijab or not. There's a lot of social discord happening. There's organized backlash. And you know why all that is happening? Because this is organized. These are not, questions that people living in the society are bringing up. These are organized issues. And as you know, there's an election happening in India. And the more there is a controversy, the more there is discord, and the more certain political parties are going to get advantage of votes. So remember that. But I think I'm really hopeful. The resistance of these young women, young girls coming up is really important. We saw a couple of years ago when the CA Act, which was the discriminatory act, was passed in India, a huge resistance built up, led by women at Shaheen Bagh. They came out in all kinds of clothing and their hijabs, and it didn't matter what their education level was. They were clear about their rights, and to be identified as citizens. Strong protest. It was successful because still there are no rules that have been published for CAA. There haven't been any implementation of that act. So that was important. We also saw women come out in the farmers' protest in India. They saw that these laws were directly attacking their livelihoods, their families, and so they came out in their dupattas with their head covered, and they sat down and protested, and we saw that that was successful as well. So I'm just here to say that it's important to stand up for your rights. We're seeing that. We have to be hopeful. And these issues are important to discuss and fight for, and we will win. So once again, when BJP attacks our hijab, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
When Hindutva forces attack the hijab, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
Thank you.
Can you hear me? Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Is this better?
Yes.
Okay, so now that I have this, I want to hear you louder. Hijab rights are human rights. Hijab rights
are human rights.
Hijab rights
are human rights.
Hijab rights are human rights.
Hijab rights are human rights. Okay, so let's get our next speaker going. Do we have Sidra?
Let's give a round of applause for the little girl.
Yeah, I can pull that for you.
Okay, so wait, can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
So I'm Sidra, and I wrote a poem about the unconstitutional ban on hijab. It's called Hijab is an Asset. It's just a cloth, they say. It's a problem, they taunt. It has no meaning, they yell. But it has meaning. It's not just a problem. It empowers, a source of peace, a representative of identity, a symbol of faith. Don't they know that it's dehumanizing to demand a hijabi student to remove their headscarf? We need to denounce these disgraceful actions. Don't they know that to deprive one of their hijab is depriving them of their identity and their dignity as well? That disconnects one from their creator? Their rights are untouchable. Why aren't hijabis? Her rights are as important as theirs. So why does she have to be coerced to make a choice between faith and education? We need to protect our sisters who are acting by the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Stand by them, protect their dignity, identity, modesty. My hijab is not a problem. It's a source of peace, a sign of strength, and an emblem of courage. It is my pride, my faith, my way of life. My hijab is an asset.
Thank you. A big round of applause for such a small girl standing up for what she believes in. So what I want you to remember is the scene that you see right behind me with all these women wearing masks and hijab, very similar to that scene that you saw in that picture for those girls in India. And remember, it's an international issue. The fact that hijab rights are a woman's right to choose is an international issue. Before I go on, I just wanted to point out this wonderful board right here, the Constitution of India. And everyone talks about that in the Indian Constitution, that the women have rights and human beings have rights to their religion and how they actually express their religion. I just want to take a quick read of what this board says. It says the Constitution of India, the preamble. We, the people of India, have solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic, and to secure all its citizens justice, social, economic, and political, liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship, equality of status, of opportunity, and to promote among them all fraternity, assuring the dignity of the individual and the unity and the integrity of the nation. in our Constitutional Assembly, this 26th day of November 1949, they adopted and enacted this Constitution. And I wanted to read that out loud, so instead of just as paraphrasing, we know that in the Constitution, the right of the expression of faith in India is there. And that's what we're fighting for here today. So let's have our other speakers. Do we have Rabia?
Reading to all. Assalamu alaikum and reading to all. Please repeat after me. Allahu Akbar, God is great. Allahu Akbar, God is great. Allahu Akbar, God is great. Sisters in India, Allahu Akbar, God is great. My name is Rabiha Majid. I'm a proud American Muslim. Today I stand here for my sisters in India for their rights. Hijab is my faith, there is faith. It's my identity, there is identity. It's my right, their right. And it's my choice, their choice. No one has the right to take my rights. Hijab is not a piece of cloth but our dignity. Hijab is my day to account. Don't tell what to do. My body, my choice. Hijab is my right. No can tell me otherwise. I love my faith. I love my hijab.
I don't know if you heard the last word. She said, I love my faith and I love my hijab. And that's why we're here today, and how you express your faith. The right to expressing your faith. If you don't mind, I'd like to chant a little bit. Hijab rights are human rights. Hijab rights are human rights. Hold it high. Hijab rights are human rights. Hijab rights are human rights. Hijab rights are human rights. One more time.
Hijab rights are human rights.
Do we have Rosina?
Hello, Assalamu alaikum everybody. My name is Rosina Zama and I work with IMC Boston chapter. We are here to protest today and we know the reason, we have the whole story about it. I just have a small speech, not a very big speech. Devailing and anti-veiling is a form of sexual harassment. And the narrative around a person's right to wear hijab needs to shift from progressive politics to that of a massive infringement to the autonomy of women. Being told what to wear by the state or law is not rooted in our liberatory politics. The targeting of hijab is beyond Islamophobia in India. It is a careful, calculated, gendered attack. Hijab is our right. Hijab is our right. And hijab is our right. I just want to add a small poem with that. हर रास्ते को चीरेंगे, हर कामयाबी को छीनेंगे. अब हौसला है जीने में, कोई खौफ नहीं सीने में. मुंह के अब तुम गिरोगे, अपना टाइम आएगा. हिजाब पहना जाएगा और हिजाब पहना जाएगा. Thank you.
So I'm really excited as an elected official in my district to announce that we have Mayor of Cambridge, Sumbul Siddiqui, here with us today, and another Muslim woman elected in Massachusetts. Please.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. It's great to be here. So many folks know that I was born in Pakistan, but sometimes what people don't know is that my dad, he's from India. He was born in Lucknow, and I've been talking to him about these issues, and I can see in his eyes how emotional he gets, because he talks about the India he knew, and we see what's happening there, and it's completely unconscionable to know that our Muslim girls are being forced to choose between their education and their religion. And it's such a sad and such a horrible thing to see what the government in India is doing. And as someone here, I feel so helpless I feel like, how can I, how do I stand against what's happening? But I think it's so important that we do this, that we stand against this injustice, that we stand up for our girls, stand against this discrimination, stand up for human rights, and keep raising awareness, calling on the UN to recognize that hijab rights are human rights. So I stand in solidarity with all of you, and so does the city of Cambridge. And so whatever we can do to raise awareness, to stand up against this, we have to do. So I'm so glad to be here with you today. Please call on my office in any way. I will always be here and standing with you. Thank you.
Thank you. It's always very, very motivating when we have elected officials of our own coming to stand up with us for these issues. And I would actually like to invite two of these young ladies who wanted to share some words with us.
Salam everyone, my name is Mariam and this is Iman, and we're students here at Harvard and wanted to express our support and solidarity for the women in Karnataka. So thank you for having us today and thank you for showing your support. Okay, thank you again. Once more, the Muslim Ummah is confronted with another assault on the hijab, this time executed by the Karnataka government in India, controlled by the BJP. These attacks on the hijab must stop. We are exhausted with the painfully transparent Islamophobic homogenization of Indian culture under the guise of promoting secularism, and must name this crisis honestly, as a state-sponsored policing of religious identity and expression. It's also not lost on us that the attack closely follows World Hijab Day, a time to celebrate the hijab and what it represents. The hijab brings so many hijabis around the world immense joy and spiritual fulfillment. And for millions of our counterparts in India to be deprived of the spiritual act of devotion is deeply upsetting. We long for the day when a Muslim woman's identity is not politicized or appropriated for political gain. All up, express the suffering of the Muslim women in Karnataka, and please allow us to stand in support and solidarity as best as we can. Thank you again, and I'll pass it back over to you. Thank you.
I want to open the floor. Does anybody want to share some words with us today?
Thank you. I do not have a script right now, but I do have some thoughts. I'm an Indian Muslim woman who's lived in India for over a decade, and for the hijab that I wore, I have been discriminated against, even given the privileges that I have coming with the class that I come in. I want to remind each one of us about how this is not just a Muslim problem. This is not just about a community in India. This is about every single one of us. And I want to remind all of us how I see this as three different problems in three different levels. One, attack on self. Imagine when today you were getting ready to come here and you were ready to wear your shirt on, and you realize that, oh, I cannot wear my shirt because the government does not allow me to walk with the shirt on. That is exactly how a Muslim woman who chooses to wear a hijab would feel when the government, the state, people in power decide what I can wear and what I cannot wear. So hijab, the attack on hijab is an attack on every single one of us, and our liberty to choose to wear what we want to wear and what we choose to decide what modesty is for each of us. Two, attack on the community. And how do I see this? I'm an educator. I'm studying education at the Harvard Graduate School of Education. The narrative now is the reason to choose to make classrooms uniform is so that people can see everybody as equals, and the idea of secularism. By this, what you're doing is you're getting students to think that looking the same is what equality means. It means that you all need to be dressed similarly. And the funny thing is, when they say equal, what they mean is what the majority does is what the norm is.
Let her finish.
You are reframing what is normal for a person by reframing it to be what is okay, that the majority considers is okay. And you're building a bubble around students in class to believe that you need to look like me to be an equal. And that is an attack on what the community believes or how it sees. Number 3, attack on the country itself. By making this something that the government is doing, you're essentially telling that one community is not equal as the others in the community. Because you don't have the majority voice, you do not have the equal rights as others in the community. So I see this as an attack on self, the community, and the country. And this is not just an Indian problem. This problem will come in, it can come in any country, in any community, and even to you next time. So please, and I really appreciate seeing so many people wearing hijab and not wearing hijab being here. And that is so important, to stand for justice, whoever you are, irrespective of your identity or where you come from. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Constitution that talk about religious freedom. So Article 25 talks about freedom of conscience and free profession, practice and propagation of religion in India. Article 26 provides freedom to manage religious affairs. Article 27 provides freedom as to payment of taxes for promotion of any particular religion. This actually means freedom from taxes. Taxes are exempt for propagation of religion. And Article 25, freedom as to attendance at religious instruction or religious worship in certain educational institutions. Now, if you actually go a little more deeper into this, Article 28 actually permits educational institutes that are maintained by religious groups to disseminate religious instruction. It also provides that no religious instruction shall be provided in state-run educational institutions. You know, uniform is just an excuse. Uniform is just an excuse. Religious clothing can easily be incorporated into uniform. I went to an Indian school and my uniform was a white shirt and a grey trouser for boys. For girls, it was a white top and a grey skirt. Now, women or girls could choose to wear a white shalwar or slacks and a grey scarf. Same as children of the Sikh faith. Sikhs were allowed to wear a grey turban. You know, today, Sikhs are not being stopped from wearing the turban in Karnataka and India. May I ask why? Why this targeted discrimination? I think that is wrong. It's unconstitutional. You know, so the government of India has no right to decide if hijab is essential in Islam or not. You know, they are not experts in Islamic religion, so they cannot decide, they cannot tell whether hijab is an essential part of Islam or no. Okay? So, that's all I wanted to say. I mean, you know, if an adult Indian woman decides to wear the hijab, it is her prerogative and her constitutional right to wear it. Nobody could and nobody should stop her from doing that. I would like to end by singing a few lines of the all-famous revolutionary poem, Hum Dekhenge, penned by Faiz Ahmad Faiz. It is a poem that speaks against tyranny and oppression. It says, a day will come when the unjust rulers and oppressors will be overthrown and good will be established. Indeed, we will witness that day. You can sing with me if you like to. Jai Hind, Hindustan Zindabad. Hum dekhenge, hum dekhenge, lazim hai ki hum bhi dekhenge, hum dekhenge. वो दिन के जिसका वादा है, जो लोहे अज़ल पे लिखा है, वो दिन के जिसका वादा है, जो लोहे अज़ल पे लिखा है, हम देखेंगे लाजिम है कि हम भी देखेंगे, हम देखेंगे। जब ज़ुल्म सितम के तो है गरां, रूई की तरह उड़ जाएंगे। जब ज़ुल्म सितम के कोहे गरां, रूई की तरह उड़ जाएंगे। हम महकूमों के पाँव तले, हम महकूमों के पाँव तले, ये धरती धड़ धड़ धड़केगी और अहले हकम के सरों पर जब बिजली कड़ कड़ कड़केगी हम देखेंगे। लाजिम है कि हम भी देखेंगे, हम देखेंगे। हम अहले सफा मरदूदे हरम, हम अहले सफा मरदूदे हरम, मसनद पे बिठाए जाएंगे और ताज उछाले जाएंगे, और ताज उछाले जाएंगे और तख्त गिराए जाएंगे हम देखेंगे। लाजिम है कि हम भी देखेंगे, हम देखेंगे। वो दिन के जिसका वादा है, जो लोहे अज़ल पे लिखा है, हम देखेंगे। लाजिम है कि हम भी देखेंगे, हम देखेंगे। थैंक यू।
That was beautiful. I don't know if you understood all those words. I'm not a great translator, but that was absolutely beautiful. Now, I do have a very special guest while we're standing here. This is why we chant. This is why we say things out loud. This is why we do these rallies, because we find allies. And we have Ed Childs here who's willing to share a few words. And I was very surprised to find out who he is. He's the person responsible for bringing halal food to Harvard. He's also responsible for fighting against women in the kitchen being asked to take their hijabs off at Harvard. So I'm really excited to see what he has to share with us, and I'd like to invite you to the microphone.
So thank you. It's I give solidarity here from Local 26 Unite here, which is the dining hall workers here at Harvard and all the hotels. Because your struggle is our struggle. We have dealt with your struggle because the hotels in Harvard University and employers around the country, and as we see around the world, try to divide workers. And this is a big way they try to do it. They've done it in the hotels, they've tried to do it at Harvard University, and now they're doing it in India. Division amongst workers is huge. Bigotry is their #1 tool. I also am Irish, and I do want to give a little solidarity message that my cousins and others have wanted to give to you. And I'll tell you a little story of my adventures in Ireland. A little. In 1988, when the armed struggle against colonialism was at its height, I was in Belfast, and the people there in struggle says, we're getting a contingent from London to come support us. We should greet them. So there comes a bus from London to help the Irish people in their election to win the anti-colonial situation. And the bus opens up, and who comes out? It's all Indians and Pakistani and Bangladeshi people only, and many, many hijabs coming out of the bus. And it's the heart of the Irish struggle that that they say we are in total solidarity with what's going on in the struggles against colonialism and the colonial ideology that is in India. It's all over South Asia. But I want to tell you about the struggle here, because your struggle is our struggle. So, years ago, Harvard University, they tried to divide us many times. Racism, sexism, homophobia, xenophobia, to try to divide the workers. So one time they came up with, oh, women can't win the hijab because it's not part of the uniform. Well, we immediately had protests all over campus, in the dining halls. And we won fairly rapidly. And the reason is because we stuck together. Because your struggle is our struggle. And so today, when you go to the dining halls at Harvard University, you'll see many hijabs amongst the workers there, proudly worn, and part of the uniform, because we made it part of the uniform. I just want to go on that point. What this means to us, why your struggle and your solidarity and your fortitude is for all of us, because what they have done, and we can see it in India, is that when the workers move, there's a pushback from the right. And we knew when these fantastic strikes of the farmers and workers in India were going to happen, there'd be a pushback. And they have to use bigotry to do so. And this is part of it. And every worker, not only in India and Pakistan, but all over the world, must recognize that this is an attack on every worker in the world. That prejudice, in this particularly, dividing women. And let me tell you, especially from my background here from Ireland, but it's also here. We can see there was a big struggle here about civil rights. And now you see a pushback from the right. What are they doing? Oh, in schools you can't have critical race theory. They're burning and banning books. What's the difference? There is no difference between what this struggle is and this struggle here in the United States is. There's no thing. Because what is that a remnants of? It's a remnants of colonial ideology. What's the first thing a colonial goes in to a country when they take it over? Language goes, religion goes, and education goes. They take it over. That's all this is. So what we're saying, in the labor movement here in the United States, we're moving again. You can see Starbucks workers, Amazon workers moving, hotel workers moving. And we know that there's going to be a pushback on bigotry. And that's why any time they touch an Islamic woman, we know that your strength is our strength. And we're going to be behind you because of that. Let me tell you, there's one demand that they're talking about education. There should be one thing that should be out of education and out of every school. And it's not this. It's racism, sexism, homophobia, xenophobia, all remnants of colonial ideology. That should be out of education in the world. So thank you very much. And all the workers of the world are behind you. Thank you for your strength. Thank you.
Well, that was powerful. I don't know about you guys, but that was inspirational. Thank you for those words. Now I want to start the chanting. Of course, we're going to be competing with some noise in the background over there. I actually am asking Safira over there, Safira, please, because it's cold and we're all shivering, and we want to get people's attention, lift up your signs high, follow her, she will lead you in the chant. She's going to have this microphone, she's going to lead you in the chant, make your voices known. And whatever you do, make sure those signs are pointing towards the cars or towards the passerbys. And do not block people's path of walking, please. So if we can start.
One
You said to stop after
Single file, if preferable, and start following her. She'll be responsible for taking you around. Go ahead, start following. Single file, please.
Yes, that's what I said. We're all fusing. And you know what? That way